you for joining today's webinar. Today, we are presenting webinar on Developing Personal Agility and Resilience organized by Applied Science and Humanities Department of Parul Polytechnic Institute, Parul University. The main agenda of this webinar is to develop the personal agility and resilience and being able to bounce back and deal with the changing and the unwelcome circumstances in life in order to not only survive but to thrive in this VUCA world. I, Vaishali Nathwani, would like to introduce today's guest speaker, Gay Kai from Singapore. She is a senior operations and HR executive, having worked for large companies such as Dell, ANZ, and World Vision. She is a certified human resource business partner by HR Singapore, a certified HR professional by IHRP, Singapore's national certification body for HR, a certified professional Scrum Master, product owner, and an Agile coach. She is currently living in Singapore and has recently developed and joined Gush Cloud as head of Group HR, leading the HR team of Gush Cloud in 11 countries. She is married to Tim Carr, a property and real estate senior executive in Citibank, and they have an 8-year-old named daughter Ellie. She is a mountain biking and hiking enthusiast also. It's a privilege to welcome you, ma'am, and you can start with the session.
All right. Good morning. Good morning, people
Good morning, ma'am.
from Royal University. So thank you for inviting me to be your speaker for today. My topic is building personal resilience and agility. And my objective is for you guys to, after this brief talk, it is my hope that you will all be able to find courage in facing change, facing challenges, facing change around you, and of course, initiating change. So just to talk a little bit about myself, aside from being an HR professional, I'm an Agile coach. So what an Agile coach does in organizations is, we basically promote improvement and awareness. We help boost ownership. We help develop competencies, and we help facilitate barriers removal so that teams can perform at an optimal level. Okay, so let me share this quote with you from Yuval Noah Harari. He's a New York best-selling author. He said that people are usually afraid of change because they fear the unknown. But the single greatest constant of history is that everything changes. So that's really a fact. Everything changes. And this is why we need to build personal resilience and agility. So before I share with you, the definition of resilience, I think I just need to emphasize we need to build resilience and agility because we live in a VUCA world. VUCA means, in the business world, it means volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous because disruption is the new constant. So we need to develop resilience and agility in order to help protect ourselves from developing mental and physical health issues, and of course, to help maintain balance as we change direction in life, and of course, to be able to function during difficult and stressful periods in our lives. Okay, so let me proceed with resilience. So the definition of resilience is, according to Merriam-Webster, it's the capability of a strained body to recover its size and shape after deformation caused especially by compressive stress. It's also an ability to recover from or adjust easily misfortune or change. It means sure-footed, able to balance and not fall. And in psychology, it means the process of adapting well in the face of adversity, trauma, or tragedy. Its short definition is also to bounce back. Okay, so according to Dr. Amit Sood, the Executive Director of the Global Center for Resiliency and Well-Being, is that resilience is the core strength you use to lift the load of life. Okay, so let's have a little bit of trivia, and anybody is welcome to answer. So, what do you think is the most resilient animal in the planet? Anyone? Can anyone guess? Okay, so when I was doing my research about the most resilient animal in the planet, at first I was thinking, it might be an ox because of how big it is, how powerful it is, or a bull, or a whale, or a shark. But I was actually completely wrong. So let me share with you what the answer is to this question. So the most resilient animal in the planet is this. So at first I didn't know, like, what is this animal? So let's play the video so we can learn more about the resilient animal in the planet, the most resilient animal in the planet. Okay, so did you guys find that interesting? It's actually completely different from what I thought it would be. Okay, so as humans, what do you think we can do to build our resilience? I think it's important that we discuss this, because as we face challenges in life, it's important that we know we have tools and ways to cope with the changing environment. Okay, so one would be physical wellness. One would be relational wellness. So it's important that we understand that we are not alone. We need to connect with others to help us navigate through our problems, find solutions, and overcome challenges. And of course, forgiveness is a necessity, and healthy relationships are detrimental to our overall health, and family is essential. Now, why do I say forgiveness is a necessity? A study was conducted by Dr. Worthington, a professor of psychology in Virginia's Commonwealth University, and his study was about forgiveness as a catalyst for psychological, physical, and spiritual resilience in disasters and crises. And based on his research, that have also been confirmed by other medical studies, is that unforgiveness consists of 6 intertwined emotions. So these are resentment, bitterness, hostility, hatred, anger, and fear. And these emotions, particularly hostility, an emotion involving a negative, cynical attitude toward others with a propensity for anger or aggression, it basically increases the number of times that cortisol secretion floods the bloodstream. So just to let you know what cortisol is, so cortisol is a primary stress hormone. So it really has a negative impact in our body. When we have increased cortisol in the bloodstream, it basically causes dysfunction of most of our physical systems. So that would be the gastrointestinal, our immune system, cardiovascular system, respiratory, and even brain functioning is highly affected. So that's what happens when you have unforgiveness, right? So it triggers other emotions and it causes to increase the cortisol secretion floods in the bloodstream. Hence, it's going to physically make you sick. Okay. Now, what does forgiveness does? Okay. So when you have this emotion, okay, when you forgive, actually, it engages the parasympathetic nervous system, which helps your immune system function more efficiently and makes room for feel-good hormones like serotonin and oxytocin. Okay, so what does serotonin do? What does it do to your body? So this hormone impacts your entire body. This is the hormone that regulates anxiety and happiness. It enables brain cells and other nervous systems to communicate with each other. So this is a hormone that helps us with our sleeping, eating, and digestion. And serotonin is your leadership hormone. So it boosts willpower, self-esteem, inner satisfaction, confidence, and a sense of purpose. And so as I've mentioned earlier, right? So when you forgive, it releases feel-good hormones in your body. And another hormone that it releases is actually oxytocin. So what does oxytocin do to your body? It reduces stress and anxiety, and it aids in our reproductive system, including like lactation and childbirth, and production of testosterone in males. So if you have testosterone, if you have a good amount of testosterone, you will have confidence. Okay, so it really helps us function physically when we forgive. Okay, so another way to cope, another way to build resilience would be, of course, mental wellness. Okay, so mental wellness it's basically about healthy thinking, right? So how do you build resilience through mental wellness? You have to practice mindfulness. Okay, mindfulness, as defined by Merriam-Webster, is the practice of maintaining a non-judgmental state of heightened or complete awareness of one's thoughts, emotions, or experiences. Okay, so an example of mindfulness would be taking one task at a time to put your focus on the task at hand. So, an example would be like, minimizing multitasking. Like when you're at home, you're cooking and you're reading at the same time, it would be best to just do one task at a time if you can and put your focus in it. Okay. Another example of doing mindfulness would be, doing an activity which requires the attention of the body and mind, like cycling, running, or just walking for 30 minutes. So basically any activity that requires you to, be present. It's like a moment of letting your mind and your body reconcile. And of course, another way that we can cultivate mental wellness would be to cultivate silence. Okay, so the busier you are, the more you need quiet time. So, what would be the benefits of silence? Of course, number one, it helps you concentrate. Um, it helps you in your creative process. It helps you lower down your stress levels. And then a study done by Duke Medical School recently found that silence is associated with the development of new cells in the hippocampus, the key brain region associated with learning and memory. Okay. So another way to help you build your resilience would be through spiritual wellness. Okay, so spiritual wellness basically means having a healthy belief system. So how do you do this? Of course, you pray, you meditate, and you find your purpose. Prayer and meditation can help you find hope. And of course, cultivate gratitude. Be thankful for what you have rather than focusing on what you're missing. So, gratitude actually comes from the Latin word gratus, which means thankful, pleasing, to have appreciation and express thankfulness. So, being thankful has been shown to predict significantly lower risk of a range of diagnoses, including major depression, generalized anxiety disorder, phobia, alcohol dependence, nicotine dependence, uh, drug or substance abuse, and of course, the risk of bulimia nervosa. So, um, when you are grateful, it actually lowers your chances of getting all these disorders. Okay, and then of course, gratitude is associated with high positive effect, low negative effect, and a high satisfaction with life. So, it has been found out that gratitude is linked to a psychological well-being, which is a sense that one's life has meaning and that a person is living their life to the fullest. And then, of course, gratitude will help you see what you have is better than what it is you may think you want. Okay. Um, all right. So, now let's proceed with agility. So that's resilience. Okay. Now let's proceed with agility. So according to Merriam-Webster, it means deftness, dexterity, or mental quickness, flexibility, nimble. Okay. So in business, agility means to adapt quickly to market changes internally and externally. It's basically to adjust, adapt, and respond. So in a way, it's really crucial that you develop both, not just resilience but agility. Because for me, resilience is being able to withstand hard conditions, right, or difficult situations. But agility is is actually the capability of you doing something about it. Okay, not just withstanding the difficulty or the challenges, but being able to do something about it. That's agility. Okay, so again, trivia. What do you think is the most nimble or agile animal in the planet? Can anyone guess? Okay, so actually there are different agile animals, but I think one of the most well-known agile animals would be the deer. So if I'm sure you've heard of the idiom as nimble as a deer, right? So let me share with you. So one of the most agile animals in the planet. Okay. So please watch closely.
Once again, Tom. Here we go, Tom.
Okay, so let me just rewind that for a few seconds.
Where the hell did she go?
Okay, so wasn't that quick? That was really quick, right? The deer was able to, deceive the lion in going to one direction, and then the deer immediately shifted to another direction. So I think that's a clear picture of what agility is. So let me clarify that agility is not just a change in direction. Okay, so let me give you another example.
I'm from city in the Midwest, best city in the whole wide world. Say now I'm from city in the Midwest, best city in the whole wide world. Say now I'm from city in the Midwest, best city in the whole wide world. Hey, city in the whole wide world. Hey, city in the whole wide world. I got my go gadget flow. 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 I'm back, I'm cool. What's Alexander tier? On me, no ghost, no 16-bit like say the Genesis. RG ball on the board, soundtrack on the track, Gemini on the job, shake the G on the G, set green for the green, free chillin', and I'm back on my thing for the listeners. What you to witnesses? New value album too. You ready for the ghetto, get it in the G's from the M-A-D-I to the S to the O-N. Pull in to get you open. Move like a nigga supposed to get the dough when they go with the flow that I'm holding. Go, gadget flow. I got my go, gadget flow. I got my go, gadget flow. I got my go, gadget flow. Love, got the winning city on my back, so I'm back on my bristle like a bear skin rub. Plus I'm laying on the floor, blaming on the gold, little rapper, turn it out because I'm very good. I can work anywhere in the world, you can ask my brotherhood. No concur that I'm serious with the words to the man up above, thank you very much. That I got what I got, and I'm at where I'm at, like an A in a circle, what I pay little. What they say when they see your G, from the F to the F with the amazing verbals, but they race in the circle like they racing a dribble. I'm racing a circle like I'm raising a horse, I'm raising a horse, but they racing a place and racing a cage, I'm racing a course. That case in the court did not defer the dream. I am still a racing.
Okay, so that's a clear example of what agility is and what just changing of direction is, right? So according to Bill Gates, success today requires the agility and to constantly rethink, reinvigorate, react, and reinvent. Okay, so now let me discuss with you 4 ways to build your personal agility. This is really important. It's important that you know who you are and identify what matters to you. So understanding your personal values and beliefs can help you bring focus and direction in both the short and longer term, so that no matter what changes around you, it doesn't change what's important to you. It gives you a direction or a compass or where you want to be. So I'll give you a personal example. A personal example would be I resigned from my work about in 2019. I left the Philippines. I was in a good job, a really good job, but I had to leave because my husband has accepted a job in Citibank here in Singapore, and of course I had to leave my work and prioritize family because for me that's what matters. What matters more is my family than my own career. Okay, so that was my compass, right? So between a good job and my family, I will always choose my family. So as a result, I basically I took my chance, basically, right? So I left, and then when I moved here to Singapore, of course, as much as it was scary for me because I don't have family here. I had to, be agile about it. So what do I mean? I need to be agile about it is, of course, I need to learn the ways of how to live here. I had to build my own network. I had to start getting to know people so that I can find some ways and means to land a job, right? So for me, what matters to me was my family. Okay. So number 2, of course, for you to be able to build your personal agility is you have to be open to change. Change is normal. Disruption is constant. So we need to find opportunities rather than focusing on the threats, and learn to embrace change and learn to initiate change. So that's what I've done. Okay, personally, that's what I've done. I focused on the opportunities of being here in Singapore rather than focusing on the threats. Okay, so what were the threats for me here when I moved here? Well, there's a growing political climate here against anti-foreign workers. So I could have easily focused on, I can be negative about it and not do anything about it because they don't like foreigners. Right now people are losing jobs, and the Singapore job market is not open to hiring foreigners because they have to prioritize the locals, right? I can easily give up, or I can easily focus on the threat. But instead of focusing on that, I focus on what opportunities I can find. Okay, and of course, learning to embrace that change and to initiate change. Okay, so what's another way of building personal agility? Of course, you have to take action and be accountable, right? So I've made the decision, to move here in Singapore to be with my family. Then I have to take action and accountability about it. Okay, so to be agile is to be able to think and understand quickly and then take the right action. And of course, I think this is the most important that I have really, really learned, especially in this time of pandemic, is to develop a growth mindset. So let me discuss what growth mindset is all about. Okay, so let's discuss the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. Okay, so a fixed mindset, so a fixed mindset basically tells you that intelligence is static, meaning it doesn't grow, it's fixed, right? Whereas a growth mindset dictates that intelligence can be developed, because the brain is a muscle and you can practice it to become stronger and smarter, okay? So a person that has a fixed mindset has a desire to look smart and therefore has the tendency to what? One, avoid challenges. Number two, give up easily. And then see effort as fruitless or worse. Why? Because why would I exert effort, right? If I know that this is my limitation, or this is the best I can do, then I won't exert any more effort because I'm already limiting my ability to produce, or my ability to drive results. Okay. And then, of course, somebody who has a fixed mindset basically ignores useful negative feedback. It's not really receptive to hearing feedback. And of course, somebody who feels threatened by the success of others. So as a result, they have a deterministic worldview that they are as they are. Okay. So the difference, that's basically having, a fixed mindset. And then having a growth mindset, of course, would mean a person that has a growth mindset believes that intelligence can be developed, that the brain is a muscle that can be trained and therefore has the tendency to embrace challenges, persist in the face of setbacks, see effort as the path to mastery, learn from criticism, find lessons and inspiration in the success of others. And as a result, they improve. They don't stay as they are, they become. So this is really important. Let's not limit ourselves. Anything can be learned, right? Not everything is rocket science. So it might be hard, but we can learn. Okay, I think so. That's for me. That's my biggest takeaway out of this pandemic. Okay, so fixed mindset would, of course, avoid challenges because why would I take on that challenge? I know that I can't make it, right? I know that this is the only skill set that I have and I can't do it, right? So that would be a fixed mindset. Growth mindset would mean I will keep trying and never give up, okay? I am inspired by the success of other people and my mistakes will help me grow, okay? It doesn't matter if I fail, I will learn from it and I will grow from it. That's actually the right mindset, okay? Because again, our environment is changing so fast. Technology has caused a lot of disruption in our daily lives, and it's important that we have this mindset that we can learn, okay, and that we can improve. Okay. So again, let's grow our mindset. So Abraham Maslow is a famous American psychologist. So he wrote that if you deliberately plan to be less than you are capable of being, then I warn you that you'll be deeply unhappy for the rest of your life. You will be evading your own capacities, your own possibilities. So I'm sure you've heard of it, the self actualization. That's from Abraham Maslow. So we will never self actualize, or we will never reach our full potential if we keep limiting ourselves, and if we stop ourselves from having a growth mindset. Okay, so I end you with that, and I'm now open to any questions that you might have. Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so I'm actually done with the presentation. I'm now open to answering any questions that you might have regarding the topic.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Just wait for 2-3 minutes. I will go through the questions.
No problem.
And
No problem. So let me know myself to you guys.
yes, ma'am. Just give me 1 or 2 minutes.
No
I
problem.
will let you know the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, ma'am. The first agility. Hello. Hello.
Hi, I can hear you.
Yes, ma'am. So the first question is, how can we show agility?
So how can you grow agility?
Yeah, ma'am.
Number one, I think, like what I've said earlier, it's important to have a growth mindset, right? Agility is learned over time. It's learned over time. Like with the examples that I've shown you guys, right? Like the deer, right? Being able to maneuver itself to avoid the attack of a lion, right? So
Yes.
you develop agility by facing challenges. That's one. You can't avoid it. Don't avoid it. Don't avoid it. And learn from those challenges. Um, so my personal experience, like I mentioned earlier, I'm more jobless. I'm um, they didn't know what to do, but because I maintained a growth mindset, meaning I can learn, right? So I really exerted effort in learning. So one of the things that I think is to actually get a local certification on to become an HR professional, a practicing HR professional here, because here in Singapore, HR professionals have what we call IHR certification. So that would show that their local labor law. So there's like a local exam that you have to take and show that you're understand their labor law. So for me, that's shows why. Because I come from the Philippines, I don't know anything about Singapore labor law, right? But if I want to practice my profession here, then of course I have to learn the local labor law, and I have to take courage in taking the exam and learning about the labor law. So thank God I passed it. So now I'm now practicing a professional here in Singapore. So for me, that's showing agility to be able to deal with the changing times, finding the right direction so that you want to achieve despite the setbacks, despite the changes in your design, or despite the challenges.
Okay, ma'am. Can you tell us some of the characteristics of agility?
Well, like what I said earlier, it's really mental fitness. It's one, being able to understand what the situation is, so that it becomes instinctive on what you need to do. Right? Like in sport, like if somebody's trying to block your way, what do you do? Do you go to the right, do you go to the left, or do you go to the left? Right? Agility brings that ability, to discern where to make the right decision. So of course, part of that is having mental quickness. Having mental quickness is really important.
Okay. Ma'am, is agility important in the workplace according to you?
Yes. Yes. So, okay. So, yeah. A perfect example would be
Yes.
Netflix, right? We all know Netflix. Okay. So Netflix originally it started out as a business of renting out their DVDs. So they were competing against Blockbuster because Blockbuster were to physically to their store and rent the DVD, right? But in Netflix it was different. You order it from them and they ship it to you. So you go you don't go to a physical store to rent a DVD. They basically send it to you. So that was the original business of Netflix. But at the end of the day, it worked for them. Why? Because customers want to save time. They don't want to go to a store and rent a DVD. Eventually, more people subscribe to that model of just ordering online and then you get the DVD in your mail and they ship it to you, right? So and then what happened? Netflix tried to sell their business to Blockbuster for $50 million. But Blockbuster didn't see the opportunity. So they were not agile. They were very comfortable with where they were. They thought that the world will not change. But look at where they are now. They don't have any more stores, right? I think they closed. And originally, Netflix was selling to them for $50 million. But now, Netflix is what, 190 billion in value. So that's how important it is. We have to understand what the customer wants because it will change as demographics change. Customer feedback will change, and how fast you're able to address the needs of your customers will really affect your business. That's why agility is really important.
Okay. Yes, thank you, ma'am, for explaining it with example. It is now clear. Yes. Um,
So I'll give you another example.
yes.
When it comes to agility, I'll give you another example.
Yeah,
Kodak.
yeah, sure, ma'am, sure. Yes.
Kodak, right? Kodak, they were the number one manufacturers of film, negative film for the camera. But not that, but in fact, they were the first to build the digital camera. They were the first to build it, but they were not agile enough to reproduce it and to see it as the new, the new product that will actually attract the market. Why? Because they were so comfortable producing the old way, the negatives, because they were making money. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're making money that it's a good thing because it only takes one disruption in your business. It only takes one specific change that addresses the needs of the customers, and you're done. So, being agile in the workplace means finding ways to improve. Finding ways to improve and finding ways to address a need. So that's how you show agility, and that's how important agility is in the workplace.
Yes, yes. It's clear with you, ma'am. And ma'am, how can we navigate on problems and find the solutions for that?
Okay, so that's a very general question, and it's a tough question. Okay, so I think it's important that number one, you reach out to people that people who are not just people who just don't care for you, but people who have competence in the area of your struggle. Okay, so it's important that they care about you, of course, but it's important that you see somebody who is competent enough to help you in that problem. So an example would be um, when I moved here. Part of the change when I moved here was to navigate, right? Like navigate. How do I navigate the job search here in Singapore, or how do I position myself in the job market, being jobless and being a foreigner here in Singapore? So that was my problem. Okay, so what did I do? I had to reach out to the local HR professionals. So I had to look for Filipinos who actually went through the same changes in their lives when they moved here to Singapore. I really I really I made sure to find the time to look for those kind of people who can help me, and then they were of course generous enough to share their experiences and to help me navigate through the changes that I was facing as a new resident and foreigner here in Singapore. Okay, so that's an example, right? You need to find people who have competencies with whatever it is that you're going through. So it's that's one, and then of course number two, like what I've mentioned earlier in the talk, you really need to do a lot of self care, especially if it's a stressful situation. Okay, so an example would be like a death in the family. So it's not every day that you experience loss. It's not every day that you experience losing a loved one, right? So it's tough. It's challenging. You have to navigate your way in finding joy, finding courage, or finding the will to live again, especially if you lose a loved one, right? So I think self-care really plays a big role in that. Like what I mentioned earlier, the physical aspect of it is really important. Eating right, sleeping well, of course, exercise, the benefits of exercise, and of course the emotional health. How healthy is our emotions? How healthy is our soul? Because that really affects everything. And if that is healthy, it's easier to have clarity. It's easier to have clarity on what you need to do.
Yes, ma'am. And how resilience contribute to success, ma'am?
I'm sorry?
How resilience contribute to success?
Okay, definitely resilience contributes to success. Why? Because the reality is in anything in life, you don't get successful doing it the first time, the first attempt. Right? Like an example would be Kentucky Fried Chicken owner Colonel Sanders, right? How many times did he try to sell his fried chicken? I think maybe over 100 or 200 times before he was able to strike a deal, right? So that's resilience. So it's really critical because we don't get it right the first time. We hardly ever do. I mean, any business owner would tell you you don't get it the first time. You learn from it, you learn from your failure, and then you improve, you do better, and then you fail again, but you do better again next time until you finally get it right. So that's how important resilience is. It's really not giving up. It's really finding the courage to keep going despite all the setbacks.
And ma'am, how can leaders help their organizational to achieve agility?
Okay, I think the reason why I'm giving this talk actually is because people always talk about organization agility, but the reality is an organization is agile because its people are agile, right? It's the people that make it work. Framework, an agile framework in your organization can help you, of course, definitely, because you have to have a standard operating procedure so that you can work together as a team, right? But at the end of the day, it's really the personal agility of each individual that will contribute to the success of the organization. So, that's how important it is. In the business setting, being agile means being able to stop when needed, like realizing, that what we're trying to do now is already irrelevant. It's already obsolete. Being agile is basically acknowledging that, what we're trying to do is obsolete. We have to stop. We have to start all over again, or change our direction, or change our goal, right? So that's how important agility is in the workplace.
And how can agility help in leadership? So, for a leader, how can it help?
Of course, definitely agility will help you in so many ways, when you're a leader. Why? Because being agile actually will help you have wisdom, as I've mentioned earlier, when to stop and when to go on, or when to change directions. And having that ability will actually save you a lot of money in the business. It will save you a lot of money. So I'll give you an example. Like before the pandemic, how many physical retailers have actually moved to online retailing? In third world countries, very little. I can honestly say that very little. Most of them were actually operating like having their own physical store, right? But imagine if you were agile enough to actually move to online selling, that would have made you a lot of money instead of losing money, right? Because when the pandemic started and the lockdown started, your business would have prospered and continued. It wouldn't have been disrupted. You wouldn't have been affected of having a 30-day lockdown of closing your store and not earning any money, right? So that's a specific example of how agility really serves organizations and even individuals.
So whenever there is a problem, we should move on with the solution for that, right?
Yes, and of course, having foresight, right? Like being able, because being agile means being light on your feet. Like when something changes, you are so light that you're able to move. You're able to move. Um, Nothing drags you down. Basically, nothing drags you down. You just keep moving and moving and moving to the right direction. So even in the workplace, an example would be an agile workspace, right? Traditional businesses, offices, right, would have their own like workstation. But now they realize no, that doesn't work. Why? Especially with the pandemic. So more and more offices right now are shifting to the start
Online business. Yeah.
environment, like an open space. Because they don't need a permanent station anymore. Anybody can work from
Yeah.
having an agile workforce.
Yes.
So again, companies who have thought of that, companies who have already promoted work from home, where they were
Yes.
not promoted. Why? Because they were already doing it. They already equipped their workforce to have mobility. So even before the pandemic happened, they were fine. They were fine. But organizations that didn't have that foresight, they had to struggle. They had to struggle. They had to start, teaching. Okay, how do we use Zoom? you know, how do we monitor productivity remotely, right? But those organizations that have already been doing that for years, they were fine. So
Yes.
again, agility is not just being able to move to the right direction. It's about moving to the right direction at the right time. So timing is crucial.
Yes. And if we want success, then we have to leave our ethics, some points of our ethic, and we have to find new solutions for that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ma'am, does agility help for resilience?
I'm sorry?
Does agility help to achieve resilience, or resilience help? Agility and resilience are connected to each other.
Oh yes, yes. As I mentioned earlier, it's not enough that
Yeah.
it's not enough that you're strong. Okay, I'll give you an example. This is a poor example of resilience. People from my country, they always brag about Filipino resilience. No matter the typhoon or volcanic eruption, we're okay. We're still standing. Yes, you're still standing, but what are you doing about it, right? It's not just about surviving, it's about thriving. So while resilience gives you the ability to survive, agility gives you the ability to thrive,
Okay.
right? So well, for me, that's a poor example of resilience. Like, okay, you're still standing, your house is still standing despite the typhoon, but what are you doing, right? Is your community building things to prevent typhoon? I mean, to prevent floods from happening in your hometown? No, that's agility, right? Because you know that the environment is changing. There's global warming is here. So what are you doing about it? So it's not enough to survive the flood. It's what are you doing so that the next generation doesn't suffer the same flood, right? So that's how important resilience and agility. It has to be together.
Okay. What are the skills which are required to develop resilience?
I'm sorry again. So can you
What
please
are
repeat?
the skills? What are the skills which are required to develop resilience.
What are the keys to developing resilience?
Yes, skills that which are required.
Okay, so of course, definitely, for me, uh, you really need to have you need to have an open mind, because the reality is we really live in a world that's not perfect. Okay, so I think the sooner we accept that there will always be challenges, I think the easier for us to be resilient. That's one. And then, of course, number two, I think another key of to develop resilience would be um, building the right relationships. Building the right relationships. Whether personal life, whether work life, I think you need to build the right relationships. People who can help you, people can help who that can help you navigate through difficulties, and people that you can rely on. So, of course, again, for me, the spiritual and physical are also just as important, because when you're going through a difficult time, a stressful time, it actually affects your body as well. So, again, self care, caring for your physical body is very, very important to build resilience.
Okay. According to you, madam, what is the best way to describe agility? With example.
Best best way to describe agility.
Yes.
Okay. Best way to describe agility for me in sports. I'll give you an example, so that most people can relate. I think the young people can still relate. Okay, an example would be Michael Jordan. For me, he's a great example of agility. Why? He did not only play basketball, he also played professional baseball. Okay, so and he was successful at it. So I think for me, that's an example of agility. Being able to do something else, learning to do a new thing and actually be good at it. So because in reality, like I'm an HR professional, by the way. I'm an operations person and I'm an HR professional. But because the world is becoming more digital, more technology centric, it's not enough for me to have HR skills. I had to show some agility and learn new things like how to be a scrum master, how to be a product owner, how to be an agile coach. So these are actually roles for highly technical people or for like software developers. And I'm not a software developer, but I was able to learn how they do things, right? So for me, that's also agility. Because the reality is, AI is here, right? Artificial intelligence is here, robotics, and it's going to really change the way we do work. It's not enough to have just one skill set. You really need to keep learning as new things come along your way. That's agility.
Yes. Yes, ma'am. This is the last question from my side, ma'am. What is the meaning of building resilience?
Meaning of cultivating silence.
Yes.
Okay.
And is psychological resilience important?
Yes, of course. When we actually say cultivating silence, it's really silence in everything. Like um, silence in your mind, silence silence around you. Just really practice quiet time, because it helps you focus. One of the practical ways to teach the value of silence to my daughter is I told her that when she wakes up in the morning, I told her not to rush getting out of the bed. I told her to just lie down there for 15 to 20 minutes and just breathe, and just be silent, basically. That's what I told her. So, she's been practicing it, and I see an improvement in terms of her ability to focus. Um, because kids nowadays are very much exposed to gadgets, and we can't avoid it, right? Like my daughter had to do home-based learning, so she had to learn using a desktop, a computer, and she was facing the computer the entire day. So for me, one of the things for me to like balance that off is to teach her practicing moments of silence. So it's really important. Silence is really important. Like not doing anything and just sitting down and just breathing.
Yes, that is true, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So I end with the questions from my side, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Bashali. It was
Thank
nice
you
to
so
meet you.
much. Yes,
Jamal,
thank
thank you so much.
yes, thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving us your valuable time. We are clear with agility and resilience both, and it was quite clear with examples, day-to-day life examples that you gave with each and every topic. That was quite helpful for us to understand about agility and resilience.
Okay. Thank you so
Yes,
much. I hope you learned something.
yes, obviously, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for the opportunity.